I didn't think that I would be coming this fast. Pause. I don't even say pause, but that was a big pause. Let me revise what I was about to say. I didn't think that I would be I can't even say it right. I didn't think that I would be bringing Chicago to the front of the congregation this quickly. Is that better? Is that better? All of this box talk, all of this relationship talk, all of this people is struggling, selling box for $39.95. Now y'all got me talking crazy. That's not even what I meant to say. That's not how I meant to say it. What I was going to say was, I don't. Oh my God. What is happening in the streets? I'm going to go with the way that I meant to say it. Not even the way that I meant to say it. I'm going to go with the revised way that I meant to say it. I didn't think that I would be bringing Chicago to the front of the congregation this quickly. Oh, man. This is so dumb. This is so dumb. Chicago schools, $734 million budget deficit, 1,458 teachers laid off. Let's get to it. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications.
Also new for us here at 4, nearly 1,500 teachers out at Chicago Public Schools. The layoffs come on the heels of a doomsday budget with a $700 million gap to be filled. But CPS says today's cuts are not related to this year's deficit. CBS News Chicago investigator Dorothy Tucker here now taking a close look at these cuts. Dorothy.
Well, Joe, as you said, hundreds of teachers, special education assistants, and even parents who help out in the classroom are impacted by these latest cuts. Let me break it down. The layoffs include 432 teachers, members of the Chicago Teachers Union. 123 of them teach special education students. CPS said the number of teachers cut this year is about 50 less than last year. But special education classroom assistants appear to be impacted more this year.
So what they are telling you guys, let me break this down from a C student's perspective, is that this is not the first time that Chicago Public Schools, when they say CPS, they are talking about Chicago Public Schools. This budget, this $734 million budget deficit, is separate from the budget deficit that the city has. So when the city says that they have a budget deficit, they are saying, listen, city services, what y'all pay y'all taxes into when it comes to the everyday running of the city itself, salaries, services, garbage pickup, the streets, keeping the streets cleaned, whatever it is that the city does, funding different things, programs, initiatives, police, firefighters, sanitation, all of the things that is related to running a city on a day-to-day basis. Chicago is $1.14 billion in a deficit annually, meaning that they are running up a deficit every single year. This is not something that's new. This is something that I have been communicating to you guys for a long time. And so the schools, Chicago Public Schools, are partially funded by the city. And then the other part of the funding comes from the state. So there's a two-layer system that comes in here. Portions of it is funded by the city itself. The other portion of it is funded by the state. Now, let me give you all a little bit of insight because some of y'all may not be familiar with how this works. In multiple states and multiple cities across the country, they fund the schools based off of what? Population and property taxes. Population and property taxes. So when we go into these cities and we say, oh my God, I want better schools, chances are that is meaning that we want to pay better property taxes, or we need to raise the value of our home so we can pay more property taxes. And then that is going to be the determining factor for how much your schools get funded. Some states then say, hey, the lottery partially funds the schools also, whatever. but it is funded by how many students, right? Population. They then have a calculation and say, this is how much the school needs based off of how many students is there. This is how much y'all paying property taxes. This is what goes into the schools. And so this is how much you get per pupil, and you need to manage it effectively. What Chicago is facing is a budget crisis. Oh, wow, Anton, what does that mean? That means an inadequate, inept, stupid leadership that does not know how to manage their funds correctly, does not know how to balance the budget, does not know how to bring in more businesses, don't know how to make sure that they have the people of Chicago be taken care of. And so now you are facing over 1,400 more. Because last year they did it, the year before they did it, and the year before they did it. 1,400 more teachers are being cut, while at the same time you are facing an additional $734 million budget deficit. All right?
In that job position, there were 677 layoffs announced today. They are represented by SEIU Local 73. That union saw only 404 cuts last year. In an interview yesterday, the interim CEO for the Board of Education did indicate the cuts were coming.
We have everything on the table, and what's driving the decision that we will ultimately come to? Students first.
CPS insists the cuts are not connected to the deficit. School leaders say it's all part of the annual budget that shifts staff according to school needs.
Still, it's a big number.
It is indeed.
And they still have the work of the budget to do as well, right?
They got a lot of work to do, and
do.
as always, parents are concerned as well. They should.
So Brandon Johnson had a statement that he wanted to make on behalf of the schools, and this is the assurance that he's given to the parents of Chicago whose children are attending these schools. And I want to make sure that I highlight the fact that they spent close to, if not more than over $1 billion on illegal migrants while being dependent on the federal government in order to continue to give them COVID funds that was obviously going to eventually run out. This is what Brandon Johnson had to say.
Mayor Johnson is doubling down on calls for the state of Illinois to fund Chicago public schools. The teachers union says it wants Governor Pritzker to allocate more than $1 billion to CPS. And today, the mayor is supporting that move.
The city of Chicago and districts across the state are not fully funded by the state of Illinois. Again, it's one of those areas where I'm going to need more.
Remember what I told y'all. He's saying that it's not fully funded by Illinois, but let's continue.
But to get active, to challenge not just city government, but the state government as well, to fully fund our schools, because the crisis that we are experiencing is a crisis of the result of failures of the past.
CPS is facing.
So instead of taking responsibility and ownership of the situation, what Brandon Johnson is proposing that you guys do is for you guys to go and fight. Go and write your state legislators. Go and write J.B. Pritzker. Hey, we need to ask them to send us an additional $1 billion. We need to ask for more money, not manage resources more effectively, not give you reassurances, not make sure that we bring in more businesses, not do anything that actually helps the city itself. Not drive in more residences, not do any of that stuff. What we need to do is, hey, we need to just ask the state, ask daddy for more money. You're looking at it right now. He's telling you what he wants to do. Listen, we need to ask daddy for more money. The solution is to go to the state and ask them for more money. Now, the state got its own problems, obviously. They are suffering under their own duress, but that is not going to stop Brandon Johnson for asking for more money. But they also have another solution, and this is the thing, and for all of my Chicagoans, for all of the people that's in Chicago that feel some type of way about it, don't worry about it. Don't feel no type of way about it. It's not your fault. You voted for this. You continue to bring these people in. They said that they're going to go to the people, the parents, to give input. They're going to go to the community for input on how they can plug some of these deficits, some of these holes, how they can continue to educate their kids effectively.
$734 million. That's the funding gap Chicago Public Schools leaders face in their next budget.
Tonight, they started to brainstorm solutions with parents, teachers, students, and others. Our Sarah Maki was there listening in. And Sarah, we're talking about a huge number here.
Right, a huge number. And here's another one, because this came just days after the district announced that they were laying off more than 1,400 workers, at the time saying it was because of delays in the budgeting process. Everyone agreeing that there will be tough decisions ahead.
Look at the poor kids.
Starting on a strong note, Chicago Public School leaders made their pitch.
This is the place where we need you.
Asking parents, students, and CPS staff
My school is a small magnet school.
for their ideas to fix the looming $734 million budget shortfall.
The money is there, so we need to tap into it. But
A listening session where they didn't hold back the feedback.
I had to learn how to navigate my voice and speak up when something that I need.
Some participants surprised by what they heard.
I knew that we were in a financial deficit. I just had no idea how big that number actually was. So that was kind of alarming to hear.
District leaders say pension obligations, building maintenance, and services for students with disabilities are among the factors driving the deficit, giving some general money-making ideas for participants, like exploring TIFs, cuts to staff or programs, renegotiating contracts or furloughs and loans. But the ideas came from all angles.
Like, why are they just sitting there? Like, why don't CPS think about doing something with those buildings? That's money.
Nothing is mentioned about these marijuana shops popping up.
A growing chorus of suggestions, district leaders tasked now with turning them into one harmonious.
This is what you call an act of desperation. This is what you call a failure of leadership. This is what you call no direction. And people, I was having a conversation. Q was there. Q, you was hosting a show, and I was having a conversation with a guy from Louisiana. And I asked him, I said, why don't you feel like it's necessary for you to get involved with the political process? Because politics is not just who's the president of the United States of America, you're not affected by it. Politics is your daily life. It affects your garbage pickup. It affects the police responses inside of your city. It affects every single thing that you touch. Politics is going to play a role because you are choosing who you want to lead your city. It is going to determine the judges that sentence your cousin to 25 years to life. It is going to determine whether or not your roads get fixed or who sold the roads in Chicago that you guys get no revenue from. It's going to determine whether or not they increase the bond rating, right? So that they actually paying less in interest towards creditors because of the money that y'all borrowed. Every single thing that you do is going to be impacted by who you vote and then the legacy cost that comes along with it. And so now what they're doing is they're tapping into the community to come up with ideas of how they can plug a $734. You can't plug no $734 million budget deficit. You can't plug that. Y'all acting like we said $74 or $734. Hey, let's come up with an extra $7,340. No, that's not what we doing. He said 700. Even bro, we didn't even say 7 million. We said $743 million. And you can't fix that. That's why y'all kids is coming out of school looking dumb and can't read. The cat jump over the high. No, it's not high. It's hat. It's hat, Bartholomew. That's why your kid can't read, bro. That's why they don't get no good free lunch. Every single day, they keep eating the same thing. Same thing, same circumstance, same situation. Your kids can't eat. They can't pay attention in class. He can't get his helmet that he need because he keep hitting his head against the wall. Why y'all ain't giving him this helmet today? Well, he broke the last one. Okay, so get him a new helmet. We don't got no more helmets, and we don't have no money to go buy no new helmets. So then you got teachers going into their pockets, going to get your kid a new helmet. They got to get him an NFL ready, certified, authentic helmet because they know that he hit his head harder than he was last year because he even more crazy. Mm, 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 mm. Bartholomew, don't hit your head against the concrete wall. It's going to hurt you. They laying off teachers. They getting rid of staff. They can't plug no $734 million. This is called inadequate leadership. This is called inadequate. This is called inadequate leadership.